What's up, witches? What if I told you that the stars are literally conspiring this month to push you out of hiding? That the universe has been building up to this momentum. This April 2020, everything that has felt stuck, heavy, or like it's been waiting, or you're in the void, is about to break wide open. Because here's what nobody's talking about. We have a Libra full moon, Mars storming into Aries, a new moon conjunction in the wounded healer, and Taurus season rolling in like sacred ground under our feet. Uranus is making one of the biggest sign changes of a decade, and it's all inside the next 31 days. April's not asking you for a maybe, it's asking you for a whole sacred yes. Welcome, beautiful souls. You're listening to Peace Out Witches. Stay with us because this one about April 2026 is going to change how you move through the rest of this year.
Hey, Peace Out Witches family. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jamie and this is Stacy, and we are the co-founders of Peace Not Perfection Academy, doctors of metaphysical sciences, high priestesses, ordained ministers, and moms, daughters, wives, sisters, just like you. And we are the lovers of all things divine feminine, and we love to impart divine feminine wisdom and wake up our beautiful divine feminine in the collective. So welcome.
This episode is all going to be about the energies and the things that are going on for April 2026. So it really is a huge breakdown of just what's going to be happening, what you can expect, what's in the skies and planets. And we're going to be talking a lot about things that you can do to support yourself. After all, we did just move into spring equinox and the new year. And so I think it's a really important time to just talk about how you can call in the sacred feminine, how you can work with these energies to support you as we move through the rest of this year. And just, dig deep into April's full moon, new moon, and planet energies.
And of course, we'll be weaving in the sacred feminine, how we can, as divine feminine beings, access the energies of this month and use them to our advantage, especially because we did have the spring equinox and we're working with the energies of the new year. Things are coming to life, things are being reborn, and also the energy to achieve the things that we wanted to achieve maybe in January that didn't come to pass. We have that energy now. So how do we use April's energies to make those things come to our reality?
So before we move on, if you'd like to drop us a follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. Let us know if this is landing for you. And if you'd like to follow us at Instagram at Peace Not Perfection or at Peace Out Witches, we're looking forward to really just interacting with our podcast listeners. So stay with us for an overall vibe of April 2026.
Okay, Stacy, before we go transit by transit, date by date, I just want to tell everyone the overall feeling of this month, the vibration and the energy of it. And as a whole, it's a feeling of cutting away what isn't leaving us in balance, letting go, and maybe even having some restoration in certain aspects of our life that we need for that balance. It's like a container. April is numerically a number 5 month for 2026, and the 5 energy is transformation, it's freedom, it's getting real with ourselves about what works and what doesn't, and cutting away the things that don't work for us, having grace in that process because sometimes it can be painful, but then also about thinking about our overall evolution and why we're here and what serves us and what no longer does. And it just gives us an idea that the energy is really present for us to cut away things that aren't working or release or even restore those things that maybe worked in the past that we haven't done in a while.
Well, and April really hits off right away with just a full moon on April 1st. I mean, let's just talk a little bit about that full moon energy. So it is a full pink moon in Libra, and we call it the pink moon because it's right after spring equinox, and it's usually when all the things are beginning to bloom, and we're going to see a lot of colorful, flowers and more nature around us. So that's why it's called the pink moon. And it is going to be in Libra. So tell us a little bit about Libra and how Libra affects us on a day-to-day basis.
Well, the Libra sign is known for its symbolic image, the great balance. And so It's about justice. It's about reciprocity, equal energy exchange, relationships and balance. And then it really fully goes into our body, balance in our body, balance in our finances, balance in our work ethic, how we divide our time and how we need to divide our time to have the best quality life that we can have. So there's so many aspects of Libra and tools from Libra to pull from in order to bring those energies into this month. But it is going to be the great balancer for you this month. So if you don't cut it away, Libra will come in that energy and take care of it for you. And so having more of that divine feminine wisdom and access to what we feel internally, what we need to accomplish and say no to would help, because then you're in control. Then you're having more, you're honoring the letting go or the cutting away of what no longer serves you. And as opposed to it just happening to you, you're actually choosing it.
Yeah, I mean, if we think a lot about Libra, we think about, bringing harmony, we think about balance. They really are. I'm a Libra myself, and there's this aspect of like peacemaking that Libra is supposed to have, but also this aspect of like anger and willing to stand upness, right? And so, because of the ability to be able to see the balance, that's what often makes us good peacemakers, is we can see both sides. So this is really giving you an opportunity to look at both sides of your life. What's working for you, what's not, and really having the emotional truth conversation with yourself. Like, is this really something that I'm calling into the next few months in my life? Is this something that is working for me? Being able to, really surrender not only to that balancing, but being able to work within it by taking a step back, journaling. This is a really great time to be writing down like all the things you're doing in a day, to be able to see where you are shedding your energy, where there's holes in your space. It's a great time because it's also spring equinox and it's a full moon, to be able to release and let go. April is going to be really just a good opportunity to really have a sacred yes and a sacred no.
Yeah. And if you don't know what that is, it's that in that piece inside of you, that little voice, or maybe it's a very loud voice and you've developed it, that from your intuitive space that you access. So for me, it's in my gut, and I can really feel it like right in my sacral, which is my womb space, my sacral, yes or no. And usually it's a zing and it feels like excitement if it's a yes. And then if it's a no, it's a feeling, it has a noise for me. It's that feeling of not going to happen. Nope, just
Hmm.
not. And if you operate from in your personality from saying yes, 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 yes all the time, or no all the time, and your first instinct is always no or always yes, that this is your opportunity to pause before you make a decision and go inward and shut down the mind's answer, and actually hone that sacred yes or no. And Libra, because of the energies of Libra, giving us that Libra energy is honest. And sometimes being honest can hurt, and sometimes, or it can push in a way. I don't think that honesty is painful. I think honesty is something that we avoid inside. So if we hear it from someone else, it's already inside us and we already know what the truth is and we just suppressed it. Having the ability to have the full moon on the first in Libra, and then honing in on our sacred yeses and nos this month, because we need to have discernment in order to know what we need to cut away and release or bring in or cultivate, will allow us to have more energy and also the frequency of the sacred yes or no and finding it within inside of ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good opportunity, especially because out there we also have, this Sun, Saturn, and Jupiter building tension. And so that really does make sometimes for like quick changes
Mm-hmm.
or decisions that, feel more soul aligned, even if you're not realizing why at that moment.
Yeah.
It also can bring up aspects of, relationships. So when we are looking at how Jupiter and how, the moon is in Libra, and Saturn and Jupiter, the way that they're moving around each other is also working with Pluto. And so there is this deep soul release, but it's also a cutting of surface level issues. And I think we're seeing that a lot right now because we're seeing the awakening. I mean,
Mhm.
we've had a lot of things since our last podcast, I think, that have just come out in our current culture and world that everybody's dealing with, that are very out in the open and in our forefront, and it can't be unseen anymore. So
Mhm.
there is this big dissolving of avoidance because it can't be avoided. Like, the awareness is so aware now that you can't even detach from it. You really have to just be present and have your own emotions with it so that you can pause, learn, and be able to then move through. We're in a huge dissolving, but we're also coming into this fire horse for the last 4 months that has been left with the snake, the wood snake. So we are seeing all of this wood that was placed on fires exploding really quickly. And that's because of all the energies that are going on. Like, this energy is really great for balancing your own life, but it's also going to be opening up and making clear where in our world and our presence things aren't balanced. And we're all feeling that and seeing it right now, and we
Mhm.
can't deny it. So there is a big part of bubbling that we're all feeling, but also this is our opportunity to, like, leave the gate, because this is a really good moon for us to be running off of the gate and be trusting that we're right where we're supposed to be, even though we've kind of, like, I think a lot of people have felt held back these last few months. Like, it's just been almost like we're walking through a storm at the desert. And every step you take took every effort in your body to make the step, and then you take the next step, right? That's really what the muck kind of feels like right now in our current existence.
I think that your consciousness and where you direct your energy is really important. So if you find yourself directed your consciousness into the energy of the ongoing, the bigger things that are being exposed to us that we can't ignore all the time, then your joy and inner guidance system doesn't have an opportunity to have a voice because the energies of the collective are really dense right now and heavy. And there's that sense of being in a storm. I feel that like you're almost like you're wading through water and the current's going against you, is how it feels to me. And if we take an opportunity, at least every single day, to unplug from that. And if you are doing that, bravo, because it's not easy to do. It really isn't, especially with certain events that are happening in this present moment. Taking time to just, that's a way of cutting away. You had mentioned cutting away, and the five is the archetypical energies of five in Kabbalah, for instance, is a cavitating or cutting away, basically with a sword, like we're just cutting
Mm-hmm.
away. And so one of those processes, if you are caught up in find yourself caught up in the events of today and being influenced emotionally, physically, mentally, taking on the weight of that, especially when you're empathic or open, to take time to cut that away. Like, really unplug from that. You have an opportunity to steer your horse this year. It's going to run without you, whether you're steering or not. So might as well take this month to really direct it into the energy that you want to run in. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a specific goal. It could just be, I want to have more fun this year. I want to have more peace this year, whatever that is, more movement in my body, breath, whatever. And focus there and really find yourself redirecting if you need to from the chaos, from the storm, and into your own cultivated future progress. And that's where that soul, where Pluto's energies come in, and that soul and karmic release and letting go of our karmic wheel and patterns that we're ready to release come into play this month too. Because once you start working on recognizing that that karma is done, really what happens is I think we get stuck in repetitive patterns where we feel like karma is just hitting us and like this is our penance to pay for whatever karma we've accumulated, but we mentally, emotionally, and physically don't release it once it's been done. It doesn't have to repeat and repeat and repeat. That's our human operating system to keep us in that closed safe is feel perceived as safe because it's what you know. But if you realize that that karmic wheel is done or that karma is done once you first experience it, then you can then let it go. And this is a great month for that too.
Yeah. I think also, it's just important to talk about. I think sometimes we want to go
Mm-hmm.
so about the astrology and all the things that are going
Mm-hmm.
on, but not really deal with the real world. And like we live in the United States of America, we've declared war on certain things. Like I mean, literally, we are
Mm-hmm.
living through times that feel very Aries oriented, and that is really coming from Mars's movement anyway, because Mars is moving into Aries and pops into Aries on April 19th. And so if you think about like Aries as an energy, it really is this active energy. It's an initiation, it's a moving. So, personally, it's a great time to be making those kinds of decisions that are going to initiate you, that are going to give you the opportunity to be able to grow. And one of the things that always helps me do that is asking myself some journal questions. The first one that I like to ask is, where have I been managing instead of truth telling? So, where have I been managing in my life? Like, I'm just going to keep doing this versus
Mm-hmm.
like speaking truth over my life. This isn't working for me, or this is working for me. The other one is, where have I called self abandonment being the bigger person? So, where am I being the bigger person where I'm abandoning myself to do that versus working together or feeling whole? So one of the practices that you can do to be able to cut away and process energies is always water. Anytime you get into water, and you can just think about embodying into that water and being able to, clear out and release anything that no longer serves you. And then the other one that I think is really good right now is working with the kidneys in Chinese medicine. And so that's where we hold grief and unprocessed emotion. So again, warm water can help with that, warm baths. I also like to just take my hands on my stomach and just give a simple stomach massage. It doesn't have to have any rules or specifics or any ways, just being able to literally lay with my body and just massage my stomach, hold my stomach, squeeze it, really just be with it, because it does allow all of those things within our belly to be able to release. Tapping on it can help a lot too. So
Mm-hmm.
all right, so back to kind of a little bit of these planets that we've got going. So
Mm-hmm.
Mars is bringing things like discipline, consequences. Then we've got Neptune also moving into Aries, and that is the one that I'm loving because it's going to dissolve illusion. And I think that's where we're at right now, right? Like we're in this big place
Mm-hmm.
of all illusion being dissolved. Like literally it's in your face. You cannot deny that this is where we're at, and we all see now clearly where we live, what we're doing, what this day and age is, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then we've got the wounded healer and Mercury. So Mercury is really going to sharpen the mind and the voice and make things stronger. And then we've got the wounded healer that is going to be exposing anything within your old wounds that you're bringing into your new life that's not going to help you with that initiation and taking action and reflecting your truth.
During this time, Mars meets Saturn, which brings in the energy of structure, of consequence, and it's saying to act boldly, but act with integrity. So, what does that mean? Your fire needs a container. All that's been building needs a container. And then Mars meets Neptune, which is asking us the deeper question. It's asking, is action actually aligned with our soul, or is it a way to avoid? Is it aligned with our soul purpose?
Mhm.
Is this action aligned with our soul, or is this another way to bring about avoidance in our life? And that's a really powerful question to ask yourself when you start to consciously watch how you live your daily life, which I highly suggest spending 3 days just monitoring your thoughts and what you do and your habits and all the things and writing them down, because then you start to wonder, hmm, where did I waste time? Where did I feel like I didn't have enough time, but I wasted time? But then also, what actions did I take that were soul aligned in this day? What actions did I take that were soul aligned in this day? Am I acting from truth, or am I acting from avoidance? It's really powerful.
Yeah, and then we've got over that 5 week transit, Mars is going to connect with Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, and
Mhm.
the wounded healer. And each, so, basically as they move through and they begin to align with each other, there's going to be certain things that are actually going to support our soul purpose and,
Mhm.
support what we're trying to do here. Like we are in this new earth, we are in this period of shedding and embodying and initiating and living in the action of the new world we've created. And so, in order for us to do that, we have to show up, we have to arrive And it really takes, us processing through some of our ways that we want to be seen in the world or some of the ways that we're actually seen in the world. Because I think sometimes the way we think we're seen in the world and the way we're seen in the world are very different.
Always.
Not waiting. I think this is also a period that's really important. This is not for waiting. This is for doing. It's for pushing out your programs. It's for, allowing the things that you're building to come into place.
Hmm.
It's for action-oriented movement. And then we've also got spring in that energy. So that spring really brings that aspect of being able to declare and speak and, no longer living from the wounded healer, no longer living from those wounds and from the pain and from the suffering, but really living from this example of you being a human and being fully in your presence.
Yeah. And there's no other way around it. You cannot go around it. In this, you're going to be pulled through it, whether you like it or not. So might
Hmm.
as well be intentional with your journey through it because for some, it'll be easy. For some, it'll be intentional. For some, it might be painful. And the great balancer is not worried about anything but the end result, which is creating balance. So, however it takes to get there. So, if you have more control and you have more intention and you're really hearing your thoughts and you're really embodying your pain, sometimes we, if we're suffering and our body's in pain, we need to give it attention. We can't ignore it. We need to give it attention. And so in our academy, we do that through somatic movement and somatic breath work. And we teach women how to embody and recognize that they have the power to relieve and release the trauma and pain in their body through somatic breathwork and somatic movement. But however that looks for you, even if it means taking a minute and meditating. But at the end, the divine feminine is going to also be the great balancer because our whole life and our whole energy and frequency is about flowing and about moving through and moving the way we're meant to move. And so if there's any resistance in the next 4 to 5 weeks that you're coming up against, then maybe you just surrender in that moment. Then it becomes a moment of divine feminine wisdom, which is surrendering to whatever it is you're dealing with and seeing that you have more power than you thought you did.
And so April 1st through April leading up to the 14th is a really good opportunity to do some of those journal questions, to
Mhm.
figure out where your sacred yes is, where your sacred nose is, and do some of that work. Because as of April 14th, we're going to have Mercury actually enter into Aries. And that's really not only going to catch up our voices, but it's going to catch up all of this deep work we did from the 1st to the 14th. It's going to catch up all of this deep releasing that we did from the 1st to the 14th. So the 1st to the 14th is a great time. Clean your spaces, your mind, your computer, your home. Start with one little room. Like I know I've got a big thing going on in my garage. So by the 9th, I plan on just filling that out, putting it in my car and rolling on, right?
Mhm.
Donate it, but just picking something that you can do. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. I think sometimes, like my example, for example, my big pile in the garage will probably take me 20 minutes to put in my car and another 20 minutes to go drop off. But
Mhm.
it's the action of having to like put it in there, the strength and things like that, right? There's all these things that come against us. And so
Mhm.
sometimes if we can just remember, look, I'm just going to set a timer for 10 or 15 minutes and I'm going to use this 10 or 15 minutes to liberate myself from something. And so maybe it's going through just your closet. You're going to take 10 or 15 minutes and do a quick thing through your closet and pull out a few things. Maybe you moved at some point and still have some boxes left, and you're going to take 10 or 15 minutes and go through a box. One of the practices I love to do is always have a Tupperware or a hamper that I can be get rid of stuff in. And that Tupperware or hamper always goes with me to I put it in the garage for the go away stuff, but I can fill it throughout the week in any of the places that I'm in. So it's just a good practice to help us release, and let go of some of those. I also want to mention that, April, because of all these great energies and these clarities that are coming from these energies of movement,
Mhm.
that we are personally launching our Path to Priestess. And so if you'd like to learn more about Peace Not Perfection Academy, or you'd like to learn more about the 3 programs that we offer in that academy, we have a quiz that's linked below, and you can take that quiz and find what is the proper path for you. And we'd love for you to comment, to like, to subscribe, and share below. So please continue to interact with us and let us know what you'd like to talk about, or let us know if you have questions in the comments of our podcast.
So then Mercury, because during that time, Mercury was in kind of like a retrograde, and it was in this sense of, like you said, where there was just a lot to deal with all at once. And our suggestion always is pick one thing you can control if it all seems too overwhelming. And so I like the idea of donating, because that really is the one thing you can control. If you can't control the pain over your body and you don't want to deal with it, fine. If you can't control, your relationship issues in this moment and during that period, totally understandable, because it's going to feel a little overwhelming, a little dense, but you can't control one thing, pick that one thing you can control. But then when Mercury has its moment, it's going to arrive into Aries, and there's going to be that window that opens, and that fog will lift, and that sharpness will come in. And that's where the discernment will start to really ramp up inside of you, because when you open your eyes and you open the windows and let the light in, you see all the cobwebs, you see all of the things that maybe you missed before. And our suggestion is always, if you have the energy and the impulse to do the cleaning up of it, just do it in that moment. Don't save it for another day. Don't push it off, because if you feel the motivation and will to do it in that moment, that is the energy giving you the will to do it, to follow through. And the universe likes speed. So the universe doesn't want you dilly-dallying. God doesn't want you to not do it. Whatever you subscribe to, when you feel that urge, just act on it.
Yeah,
If it's
well,
in your highest good.
one, Mars brings a lot of fire and Mercury brings a lot of clarity. And
Yeah.
so, because they're both in Aries, it really is bringing this fiery energy and this
Mhm.
clarity. But it is also a, like, I'm done taking your shit. So, especially as we move into April 16th, we get our wounded healer. And that really is not necessarily where our wounded healer takes over, but if you haven't worked within your own wounds of understanding, for example, your enoughness, I'm enough, or I am
Mhm.
worthy, I'm allowed to be myself. If you aren't confident in your worth or confident in your enoughness or feeling like you can claim your space or be yourself, then this is coming from a wounded place. And
Mhm.
that wounded place is going to come up, and it's going to rear its head more and more as you get closer to April 16th and to this, planet being conjunct the sun and in Aries. So
It's
if you
going to get
really
uncomfortable.
yeah,
Mhm.
if you really feel like you are still living from a place of you're wounded, woman, or you're still having aspects of visibility or identity that you feel are not ready to be seen and heard, or you don't feel like you are enough, or you don't feel like you are worthy, I would really suggest taking our quiz below and finding the proper path for you, because we do have places within our community to be able to support you and help you be able to stand in your own ground and stand in your worth. Once we find our voice and we're standing in that worth, we're able to use these planets to liberate ourselves from
Mhm.
past wounding, to be able to heal and grow and be able to process and move through. And it doesn't affect us as much. It doesn't bring us down as much into that pain and suffering.
Absolutely. And we're not going to just analyze any wounds that come up or any trauma that comes up in that period. Don't get stuck in the feeling of it and the pattern of it, like we discussed earlier. This is the opportunity to see it and recognize it and then change it. You have an opportunity to let it go, release, if it's that type of wound that you can do or pattern, or you can just change it, rewrite the script and with intention. And um, it doesn't need to take up space in your head. Like sometimes you just have to realize that this whatever it is has just been taking up too much space in your life, and you feel ready to just let it go and release or reimagine and change. And this is the time and the energy that will support it. So finding your voice, learning your sacred yeses and nos will be really important. So spend like the first 2 weeks of April, just really getting intentional, learning your sacred yes and no. So then when you do have the clarity and the discernment, you're only guided by that sacred yes and no when you make decisions. And it'll be more profound, it'll put you in flow, and it will allow you to have a better quality of life overall and a great year. It's just going to be a really good opportunity for that.
Well, on April 17th is when we move into our new moon. And so that's really going to be a beginning. If you've processed through all these things from April 1st to 17th and allowed yourself to really come fully into that aspect of yourself, then it will make planting the seeds so much easier, right? If I prepped the land the season before, then when I'm coming in spring to my land, it's going to be much easier to put my seed down because it was prepped. If I didn't prep it, it's going to come with a little bit more work and, a little bit more commitment and space that I'm going to have to give to it to be able to get the crop that I want from that seed.
That's true. Yeah. And that goes with your internal guidance system too. Because when we come into that wounded healer, this is like the wounded healer period of the month. It's a really beautiful archetype, actually. Most women are, well, all women, divine feminine, are healers in some way. They're creators, they're manifestors, they're healers. And the importance of just recognizing as you move through that period of the wounded healer, being almost like you're a third person observing and watching your behaviors and who you present yourself as in this time period. Because for instance, some people have a martyr line in their human design chart. Okay. So the martyr in the human design chart, on like a very simplistic way, because I am not a human design expert by any means, sometimes they get stuck in it. They get stuck in the thought of being a victim or being in suffering or being selfless to the point that they do not care for themselves. So self-care at this time is really important. If you don't do self-care, sacred self-care, do it now. Start to implement that. That wounded healer needs as much healing as the healing that the divine feminine is putting out. So take care of
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah. Well, and this new moon is a powerful time for you to just kind of take back some things and call some things into your life that you're really wanting. So, a good way to do that is to be able to just journal a little letter writing to your future self, dear Stacy, I'm so thankful for the day I had, and then write out what your beautiful day was. And then, towards the middle of the month, April 19th, I mean, at that point, we're really moving into Taurus season,
Mhm.
and it's much more grounding, especially if you did a lot of this work through Aries, because Aries is really more about self. And Taurus is more about outer work, like serving and being with people. And, you can almost think of Aries as like the one that is by themselves often, and Taurus as the one who has to have a pack, right? They're not normally by themselves. They're going to have people around them or, other animals around them and things like that. That Taurus energy. So that Taurus energy then brings with us Venus, and it's going to be ruled in the goddess of love and beauty and
Mhm.
value. And so, it's really about grounding, bringing in the spring. Hopefully you've planted some seeds now and you're beginning to see them sprout, really being in the earth and having this deep experience with just living and life and being excited about life and, finding ways to call in your own joy.
Mhm.
And that joy is what will call in the great awakening within yourself, and it
Mhm.
makes these harder transits easier to deal with.
And the Taurus brings in that slowness, the earth resonance, and connecting deeply, our bodies connecting deeply to the earth's rhythms. And so that slows us down, putting our feet in the grass or the sand or swimming in a natural body of water. But it's also very deeply about the physical. So the divine feminine or the feminine has been taught to cut ourselves off from our physicalness, and our body and not to trust it. And honestly, just to be at war with it, especially as we grow older. And so Taurus season invites you to really begin to look at your body as a temple and treat it as such. So, whatever that resonates inside of you or conjures in your psyche or your mind, a temple of the body, however that looks for you, then you would put that into place at that time and really learn that. That is something that in our academy, we teach over and over again and in multiple ways, because we can be high from meditation and vibrationally very high, but we can also disconnect from our body in that experience, and we cannot manifest or create the life, the fruits of who we are here on earth, without having the body connected as well and brought into a higher frequency. So in order for us to do that, we really should be grounding and spending time in nature, really appreciating our body. Even if I'm so thankful I woke up and I could walk and I could do my laundry. I was complaining about having to do dishes in two kitchens in my head today, and I realized, I have the energy to do dishes in two kitchens in my house. And I was like, I'm thankful for that. I have the energy to do that, because I know a lot of women my age who cannot do that. They don't have the energy. And so really just connecting with your body through breath and through movement and grounding.
Well, and then we end the month with this really strong movement. So, Uranus is
Mhm.
going to be moving into Gemini, and it hasn't been in Gemini in 84 years. So since
Oh,
1941.
yeah.
So it'll be there till 2033, brings generational shifts, and it's really going to be rewriting a lot of the next chapters of our human consciousness. And when we talk a lot about the new earth, or we talk about new timelines, or we talk about these outdated, calcified, false beliefs that many people have that they no longer can hold on to, it's not
Mhm.
easy to hold on to these anymore. Like you can't fake it anymore. Like we all clearly see what's underneath the veil here. This is really moving us to evolution. And that's part of why all these things have been happening, not just in our country, in our world, in our own spirit, in our personal existence, because this breakdown of Gemini that controls communication and information is really allowing us to see, and to see clearly, and not be able to see with this fake consciousness anymore. Like we have no other opportunity but to step forward in this new existence, or die, right? Like just die. And it might not be the death of you, but it's going to be the death of something.
I personally have been at this point now where I just don't believe anything that I see, because there's so much information, and we are just in a moment of disinformation and misalignment that's being thrusted upon us in so many ways through social media and other ways, that I feel that. I feel that. I just feel like there's a breakdown for me a little bit right now, which is we're coming into April, the first 2 weeks of April makes perfect sense. And then the clarity will show up. I do know that. And then I just think that it's a good opportunity too, because a lot of the old paradigms are breaking down. Paradigms that didn't fit, one fit didn't fit all, even though they tried to tell us that. And more women are seeking to turn inward and learn their inner magic and their divine feminine wisdom. And this coming of this Gemini period of Gemini is going to allow them to have access to that more and more readily. And the information that comes out about it, and the more leaders that come forward to teach it. And um, it's just going to be an easier time to access the divine feminine, especially if we are clearing away right now what doesn't serve us, and what patterns and behaviors we need to let go of.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean, the nice thing too is that on the 29th, we're going to have Venus square the nodes. And so it's really going to help us choose those paths that feel unfamiliar. It's not going to be so
Mm,
hard or so difficult, because we will have worked with Gemini, which really Gemini is shadow and light. It's looking at both parts of
mhm,
everything. It's very much like Libra in that way, where it brings a lot of balance. And I think
mhm.
sometimes we have to remember that we can't just bypass the truth. And we can't bypass also picking the unfamiliar path sometimes, because that's what this new earth in this world is really requiring of us. It's going to require us to pick the new path. It's going to require us to stand in leadership of new people and ask good questions and get really curious. And so April is really an opportunity for us to work within our own energies, to get curious not just about our own selves, but get curious about those around us, so that you can begin to Release what isn't serving you and build sacred practices into your life that do serve you, that do support you
Mhm.
in being whole, in feeling grounded, and in building a community of people that support you, honor you, and see you as a whole being.
And if the month really represents not having to have everything figured out to have these changes come about in your life intentionally, it's more divine feminine, excuse me, intuition and trust and faith and surrender. So, going back to those words and what those mean to you when you're in this month and experiencing whatever comes up for you, just remember, do I need to pull from my faith here? Do I just need to surrender? Do I just need to trust the process? Whatever it is, it'll just smooth and allow you to fully go through it as opposed to trying to avoid it, will be your growth opportunity.
So I want to just take a moment here because this episode dropping is perfectly timed for something that's been for us, we're going to be launching our Path to Priestess. We launch it every season and we just had spring equinox. So we have opened doors for our 9-month mystery school. And Path to Priestess is all about your journey on the divine feminine. It's about being in sisterhood and sacred circle with 13 other women. It is a closed container from beginning to end. So we don't allow new women into those 13 months. You either start and you end. I'm sorry, Path to Priestess is 9 months, not 13 months. Our Path to Priestess is our 9-month ceremonial container where you're going to receive ceremonial facilitation, sacred circle leadership, Reiki, teaching, and meditation. You're going to be able to begin to work within our sacred ascension framework and really come back into your inner magic, back to yourself. And it's an opportunity to be able to work within your gifts and your inner magic. We do meet for 9 months. We only take 13 women. It is a closed container, and we do that so that we get the biggest growth out of that sacred framework spiral during that 9 months. So if this is something that you're interested in, or if you'd like to learn more about the other programs we have at Peace Not Perfection Academy, you can take the link below. There is a quiz there. It's called the Sacred Path. It'll give you an opportunity to determine which is the right path for you in our Peace Not Perfection Academy. And we do have all different kinds of paths. We really want to meet you where you're at, not just where you're at spiritually and physically, but where you're at financially as well. So if you'd like to learn more, click below. As always, we'd like you to share with a friend our podcast, share with a sacred sister, and please comment below. Let us know what you're liking about the episode and if you'd like to learn more about something specific.
Peace out, witches.
Peace out, witches.